that yoga is really good for arthritis, but many feel that they'll never be able to do the poses. And I know I did. Turns out yoga absolutely can be adapted for arthritis. Hello, my friends. I'm Lena Anderson, and today I'm joined by Julia McNally, the RA Yogi, to learn more. Welcome, Julia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lena, for having me on your Facebook Live. I'm really happy to be here and to talk over RA and do this segment with you.
And Julia mentioned Talk Over RA. This is all part of the Talk Over RA campaign. You probably seen all sorts of content from me and other people, but and we're doing this all throughout September on every Wednesday, and I'll be sharing a lot of it. But let's focus on Julia right now. So please tell us a little about yourself and how you became the RA Yogi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Julia, and I've been living with juvenile arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis for the last 32 years. My journey creating the RA Yogi comes from my love of fitness and wellness, as well as my want to help others. I have a background in personal training, in teaching group fitness as a yoga teacher and meditation teacher. Eventually, my RA progressed quite a lot over the years, and I had to shift my career, adapt my activities, and just change the way I move completely. And it made me realize that it wasn't just me going through this, it was a lot of other people. So it led me to a very spiritual journey of healing, because this disease, as many of you know, rheumatoid arthritis is an up and down disease, a stop and go disease with one's life. So this spiritual journey had me realize that my greatest pain point, which is living with this debilitating disease, was going to be my gift to other people to be able to help them through yoga, and more specifically, yoga for arthritis, which led me to creating the RA Yogi. This is a long answer, Lena, but I really want to share what led me here. And I think the pandemic also played an important role in me being able to have time to create this, even though the pandemic has been really difficult and it's, been very sad as well. It really made me think about what's important, and it gave me the time that I needed when I wasn't teaching in person any longer. I wasn't able to go to my job anymore. I had to be home, quarantined, or, locked down. And I created this resource because I knew there was a need. So that's what led me to creating the RA Yogi, the Rheumatoid Arthritis Yogi.
Thank you, Julia. And just a note to anybody watching, stay until the end, where Julia will take us through a simple yoga practice that should be possible for most everyone to do. And we'll talk more about where you can find Julia at the end as well. So to most people, yoga has become this thing that involves twisting yourself into a pretzel, poses that seem out of reach for those of us who live with RA. But when we prepped for this broadcast, you told me that that's not really what yoga is. Can you share more about that and how yoga can help someone who lives with chronic pain and RA?
Yeah, sadly, many people with RA believe there's nothing that can be done for helping them physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually, because the disease does affect more than our physical body. But that's definitely not the case. So yoga is a no impact mind body activity with the potential to improve all of the areas that I just mentioned. So yoga postures are adapted for RA and the individual, and that can help improve strength, balance, flexibility, endurance, in addition to reducing arthritis-related symptoms, which we know very well: pain, stiffness, swelling, even medication side effects as well, if anyone is on treatment or medication, which is a big part of managing this illness as well. The mindfulness, breathing, meditation, and relaxation practices, which are also a part of yoga for arthritis, they can help contribute to well-being, body awareness, your mood, energy, decrease stress, depression and anxiety, and acceptance of our limitations, finding new ways of moving and doing things, and greater self-care, as well as self-efficacy, managing our disease. So I think that, when we think about yoga, like you said, we think about a very bendy, flexible person, but yoga for arthritis is really for everyone, and it can really make a difference.
So that's kind of the big overview. And before we get into some of the nitty gritty, I just want to say hi to Susie, who's out in the comments. But also say, if you're watching this, even after we were live, please leave a comment or a question if you have anything for Julia, and we will get somebody will get to you afterwards. So this is kind of a live. Even after we're not live, we're still live, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the parts of adaptive yoga, i.e. yoga that's adapted for people with mobility problems, is that it uses props. And how can this help someone with arthritis do yoga?
Well, I couldn't do yoga without props. That's for sure at this point. As a part of yoga for arthritis, there are props such as 1 or 2 chairs, which is really important if you can't get down to the floor, if you're having a high pain day, you don't want to put pressure on the hands, wrists, the knees, the hips. So a sturdy chair is really helpful. You can also do this practice in a wheelchair as well. A yoga mat, some yoga blocks, cushions from your couch, a yoga strap, especially for people that have arthritis in the hands and the wrists. You can loop your strap and use your forearms instead of your gripping your hands, which I find very helpful.
So what kind of strap? It's like it's a loop, or it's like a belt, or
You can use a yoga strap. I find I like to offer things that you have at home, but just for safety reasons, I like to use the actual yoga strap. There's different lengths that you can purchase. I mean, it is a good tool if you plan on practicing any kind of physical activity where you don't want to hold on to using your hands. You can use a strap to stretch maybe your legs, or to stretch, various poses you might be in. So that is very helpful. I'm like looking at my floor because I have 100 props on my floor. Folded blankets are great for support and comfort, especially if you have tenderness in the joints or, soreness. You can kind of lean on a folded blanket or put it on your chair as well. Bless you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I use. A foam yoga wedge sometimes is used for people that have RA also in the wrists, that have trouble putting weight or flexing the wrists. They can use a yoga wedge. But I go through all of this on my YouTube channel called the RA Yogi, and you can actually check out my full basic series, where it's a free series that I talk about really the basics of yoga for arthritis. I talk about props and how to use them, how to find a comfortable seat, which we know is not easy all the time or ever when you're dealing with arthritis. So I go over that as well. And just, meditation basics, breathing, how to modify certain exercises and postures. So you can check that out. I also wanted to mention that you asked me why props are so important. I'm just going to give an example of today with my personal practice. I really was so stiff, like a tin woman from Wizard of Oz. I really could not move getting out of bed, and I was in a lot of pain. I still am in pain, just for the record. But I got up really slowly, and I made my way to this room, and I sat down on my chair, and I did some breathing, and I tried to get down to the floor to do some range of motion exercises for all my joints because I need to lubricate them like the oil for the Tin Man. And I couldn't sit down on the floor without putting a lot of cushions underneath me because my knees were uncomfortable, my hips didn't feel right. But as soon as I sat upright a little bit higher and I had some cushions underneath my knees, I could stay there for a little while. And then I went back to my chair, which is perfect. So I just wanted to give an example of what a yoga for arthritis practice might look like for someone living with RA.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because we kind of see people twisting themselves around on this mat, but what you're saying is that whatever you need to make you comfortable to do, whether it's breathing exercise or gentle movements, like you can change that. And also thank you for mentioning your YouTube channel. I will make sure to drop a link to that in the comments after the live is over, so you can go check out Julia's series on yoga for RA. So we're going to take a little bit of a shift now. The treatment of RA often focuses exclusively on your physical health, but your mental and spiritual health play a large role in your overall wellness. And Julia, you said that yoga keeps you going during hard times. How can it help someone cope?
Yeah, it's true. I think that a lot of the time in the Western world, we think a lot more about the physical aspect of yoga, but yoga is really the union between the mind, body, and spirit. And when my body is not working for me, I need to focus on my mind and my spirit. And it helps me to practice, compassion and self-care, self-love, kindness. I read a lot of yoga philosophy. I'm definitely not an expert in any way. I'm learning every day. I like to listen to uplifting readings, or I read yoga philosophy, and it can apply to someone that's living with a chronic illness, specifically RA. Like ahimsa is a word that is the Sanskrit language used in yoga that means non-harming and non-violence to oneself and others. And I have that focus of what I'm doing today, I'm not going to harm myself further. So it's kind of a lesson in managing our illness. So we can apply yoga to these self-management techniques for our disease, as well as, breathing, like I said before, is a really big deal for being able to be more resilient in managing our mental health with RA as well as pain. And positive thinking, which we really need when we're in the pain cycle. And it doesn't mean toxic positivity. It means, this is where I am. I am aware of where I am right now. And I gave you this example when we had our private chat, that sometimes you might be telling yourself thoughts like, I hate this disease. I hate my body right now. Why is this happening to me? We're human beings. This is going to happen. So when you become aware of those thoughts, you can shift the way you talk to yourself with yoga, and you can be more encouraging. Like, I love you, body. You're doing your best. And, just encourage yourself to do what you can versus think about what you can't do. And that's a really big one for me, as well as relaxation. Relaxation is really important if we're not sleeping through the night because of pain. And I speak to a lot of people with RA telling me they don't sleep, or they only get 1 or 2 good hours of sleep, if any. And conscious relaxation can help us to restore our bodies and our energy and our mental health. And that's a really big practice. That's a part of yoga, especially at the end of a yoga class. You might hear it as final relaxation. And that is such a crucial practice in yoga, just to be able to find a comfortable place to sit with props or lie down and just relax and be present with your breath and let go of the tension and the muscles that we're protecting our joints and we're holding on, but we need to let go. Breathe. So these are ways that yoga focuses more on mental health and coping.
Well, and I think that's a really important thing, that what you mentioned about self-compassion, and especially about the I will not harm myself any further. Because I think often, like I think something like that could really help you switch into being kinder to your body and to yourself. And I know that
Hmm.
for me, I lived most of my life separating who I was from my body because I hated what it did to me. And several
Hmm.
years ago, I figured out that actually my body is doing its best and it is my best friend. And if I treated it as a friend and we work together, then we can get through life with this disease. Like my body is not the RA. It's a separate thing, that
Yes.
right? So and that actually
Hmm.
helped me be much kinder to myself and overdo much less, although I still struggle with that. Everybody knows this, like me. Like, like you can't get if I listen to my body all the time, I'd never get anything done, right? But I am much kinder about giving it a rest and kind of making that switch from I'm really hurting today, and that really resonated, your statement about, and I forget the word for it, but I will not harm myself any further. Because if
Hmm.
that's your point, then you actually give your body the care it needs when you're in a flare, for instance. What was the word for that again?
Ahimsa.
Ahimsa. I think I'm going to write that.
Ahimsa.
Ahimsa. I'm going to write that down.
Ahimsa.
I'm going to write that
Yeah.
down and put it on. I have a filing
Little
cabinet next
post-it
to me.
note.
Yes,
I'll give
exactly.
it to you
That's wonderful.
after. Good. I'm glad.
Um,
You know, we all have something on our walls. I have a self-love meditation on my wall that I post that is, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I
mm,
be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. And I repeat that at least like for like 5 to 10 minutes when I'm having a really hard time, or even when I'm just looking at it. It just reminds me, it's just like the thing I told you about the gratitude
mhm.
last time. So for those of you that weren't in our private chat, we were talking about what helps us cope with this illness in terms of this last question that we were just talking about. And I said, I got a tattoo. That's not what helps with RA, but I got a tattoo on my foot that says gratitude. And when I'm, sitting down and I'm in the bath or whenever I see it, it reminds me to think about what I'm grateful for and go through that list.
Mhm.
And it helps me stay grateful. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
And Susie also says it's so important to have positive inner dialogue, and it's important to release all the tension and stress that we hold in our bodies. We must
Hmm.
we must remember to loosen up and let it go often. And I really think, like, I have thought about setting an alarm for every 2 hours and say this is what we
Why
do
not?
now. I never get to it, but I think I will after this conversation, because just that moment of taking a minute to breathe and remembering the positive of
Mm,
what you're grateful for, like the gratitude practice, has been a really big part of me changing my perspective to one of joy. So I think it's not a bad idea. Thank
mhm,
you, Susie, for being out there. Uh, so it's important to learn yoga or yoga practice from someone who understands how to adapt the practice for bodies that move differently, such as
mhm.
RA or disability or chronic pain. But actually, finding a teacher or a studio can be next to impossible. And it's one of those things you don't want to experiment too much with, because
Mm-mm.
I did. I met a yoga teacher once and I said, "Can you adapt?" And she went, "Yeah, no problem. I can do that." And I ended up injured as a result because she couldn't do that. So, do you have any recommendations or suggestions for how to find someone? Obviously, there's your YouTube channel, and
Mhm.
if you guys are watching that, definitely go check that out. But if you want that in-person touch, how do you find somebody who actually knows what they're doing?
I actually do recommend a one-to-one teacher student. relationship. I think that if you are living with particular conditions, you want to have a teacher around. And I think it was just during the pandemic, I said, my gosh, everyone's at home on their own. No one's seeing one another. I just need to create something so people can go at their own pace. People can like listen to their energy and their body. And just honestly, when you're working with a teacher, you are the greatest teacher. You have to listen to what your abilities are. You have to listen to your body and communicate. And it's definitely a good practice in communication with a teacher as well and with yourself. So to find a qualified teacher, I do recommend Yoga for Arthritis is actually an organization, and the founder is Dr. Stephanie Munaz. She's a researcher, and she's been doing this for a very long time. She is my teacher. She has a great team. She's worked with rheumatologists, healthcare professionals, yoga therapists to create this program studying real people with arthritis at Johns Hopkins Hospital. So she is such a great resource, and I will give you the link to link as well to find a yoga teacher that's been trained by her team. I do recommend someone that is trained by her or her team because I just don't know any other organization that is recognized at this point. Like she is the only one at this point that I know of, but I'm sure there's other people that are qualified to work with people with arthritis. But it's nice to know that someone has really gone through that training and understands not only how the condition affects the body and the tissues and the joints, but also like the organs, how medication can and treatment can affect someone living with this disease. And it's not just like physical abilities, it's also like, what is the person like having vertigo today? Is the person like really nauseous or very fatigued? And I think that that is a good way of looking for a teacher, as well as like a group would be nice for the social aspect. I was just going to say that. That's where social wellness comes in. Like there's a lot of people living with arthritis that are doing the practices together and they can connect with one another, and that's so beautiful. I don't see it as much as I'd like. Maybe when COVID lifts a little bit further, we'll see more community offerings, and I'd like to be a part of that too in the future. But yeah, I would say yes, my YouTube channel as well. Anyone else like Dr. Stephanie Munaz's channel, she's wonderful. The Arthritis Society's channel, they have different yoga practices for arthritis. Be careful with which ones. I love the Arthritis Society very much, and I work with them often. Just make sure it's cleared by your doctor to practice and that it's right for you.
I think those are all fantastic recommendations, and I'm going to drop all the link in the comments after we stop being live. But I also wanted to just echo what you said: is be careful. Talk to your doctor first about what you need to be careful about, because some joints you need to be more careful than others. I think it's also important to remember that yoga can feel really good. And you get really excited about how good it feels and then move more.
Going too far.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I ended up being like, I got the wrong instructions when I tried it, but also I felt really good. So I pushed further than I should have. So if you end up with a teacher, I think it's important to mention that you need to do much less than you can and start slow.
Yeah.
And then really
Absolutely.
listen to what happens afterwards. How do you feel afterwards? Is it, are you sore? Is it the bad kind of sore? Did you get injured? And kind of make sure that there's an open communication. So we are almost ready for Julia to lead us through this practice. But first, other than your YouTube channel, which will be linked in the comments, so where can people find you?
So if you want to connect, I do talk a lot to people in the community through direct message, but you can leave me comments on my channel as well. I try to answer as much as possible on the RA Yogi, or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the.ra.yogi. That's my handle, and we can connect there.
Okay, thank you so much, Julia. I want to, before we go into the next step, I just want to share Susie, who speaks for me in this too, saying thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge. Thank you, Susie, and everybody else watching for watching. And over to you for the next step, Julia.
Oh, all right. So I'm really stiff, as I mentioned. I'm in a lot of pain today, so I do have to get up for a moment. So I invite you all to take a very gentle stretch. If you can get up for a moment to stretch, then get up, and then we'll sit back down if that's available to you. You listen to your body. Take any little movement that feels good. I forgot what I was doing. That's a part of RA too. Some brain fog
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
brain fog is lovely, isn't it?
Yes. I'm just going to set up my little chair that I was on before and put it over here so you can see. Ugh, all right. You can see right here.
Yeah, that's
All right.
perfect.
That's good. All right.
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to go sit down. Okay. So, oh, all right. Feeling it.
It's a rough
We're
day.
going to, oh, yes. But this breathing exercise hopefully will help. So, sit on the edge of your seat. Find a comfortable position that feels good to you here. We're going to be practicing balanced breath. So, balanced breath is a great practice to help you balance your mind, your body, emotions, and nervous system. So, when we're more relaxed, we're more resilient to stress, our organs function better, and we experience less pain. So, this is something we were chatting about, I believe, during this chat and before. So find that comfortable seat and we'll begin the practice. It's a breathing exercise today. You can relax your palms in your lap, facing up or down. And notice your breath. Close your eyes if that feels good. You don't have to change anything. Simply become aware of the breath as it flows in and out through the nostrils. And as you breathe, notice the depth, the rhythm, and the pace of your breath. Maybe notice your thoughts and the emotions that are with you today. There's a little centering in. Without any judgment, we're just checking in with ourselves. Now we're going to count our inhales and exhales. For example, we're breathing in, we're counting in our minds 1, 2, 3, and then we're exhaling and we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So just notice how long your inhale and your exhales are for the next few moments without forcing anything. Continue to focus on counting the inhales and exhales. Now allow each inhale and exhale to become a similar length. Maybe we're breathing in to the count of 4 and exhaling to the count of 4. That's just an example. Do that for the next few moments. And if your eyes are still open, notice what it feels like to close them and continue to keep that equal count of your inhales and exhales. We're bringing the focus inward by closing the eyes. Maybe add a beat now to the inhale and exhale, adding one count. Like, for example, we're going to inhale for the count of 6 or 5 and equal our exhale. So that means maybe taking a bit of a deeper breath without any strain and a bit of a longer exhale. So let's try that for a moment. Relax the shoulders. Counting the inhale and the exhale. Let's take one more breath just like that. Take a deep inhale. Count the breath. Count the exhale. Let it go. Now notice how you feel as you come back to your natural breath. Notice any thoughts. When you're ready, you can open your eyes slowly. I hope that you enjoyed the balanced breath exercise. When we practice this,
Keep talking.
that happens.
Phone. I'll mute my mic.
No problem. It happens all the time. My cat usually is like, slamming into the door, making all kinds of noises. So, as I was saying, the balanced breath, when practiced without forcefulness, it is an excellent tool to support your nervous system balance, and in turn, it promotes a whole person's sense of well-being. And this is a practice that I learned in my Yoga for Arthritis training as a Yoga for Arthritis teacher that I was really excited to share with all of you today. And you can come back to this practice and practice it again and again to promote that balanced nervous system.
Thank you so much, Julia. I don't know about anybody else out there, but I felt my shoulders drop about an inch. So it was awesome. And I love that it's something you can kind of take away and probably like you can replay this part of the video until you kind of get the rhythm of it. But it's something you can do. Just take a couple of minutes once a day, several times a day, maybe every 2 hours when I set my alarm. And then just kind of go, all right, let me just center myself again. I think it's so valuable. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. And thank you so much for, Susie has a quick question. Says that was relaxing. Does it matter if we exchange with our mouth open or not?
We just talked about that. That's so funny, Susie. We were just talking about that, Lena and I. So if you can breathe in and out through the nose, that is recommended because it helps you to connect with your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. It's a form of soothing the body because when we're breathing through our mouth, like it's kind of connecting to our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight response, which kind of sends our heart rate a little bit faster, sends the blood to the muscles instead of the digestive system, and it kind of causes us to feel a little bit more stressed. But whatever works for you in your situation, this is just what I've been taught, in my Yoga for Arthritis teacher training. If you can breathe through the nose, if you're not congested or if there's no blockages there, then definitely try the exercise breathing in and out through the nose if possible.
Right. But again, as Julia said, if you're a mouth breather like me with chronic allergies, modify accordingly.
Yes, listen to your body.
and maybe take an antihistamine if you need. All right. Thank you again, Julia. This was a
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget, you can leave comments and questions if you're interested. And just a quick note that next week at the same time, 12:30 p.m. ET, I'm going live with a couple of other participants in the Talk Over RA campaign to talk about tracking symptoms and how that can help and how to do it. So we'll see you next week. And thank you, Julia. This was lovely.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you, everyone.